In the farthest reaches of the Galactic Empire, the Empire's fleet glided through the endless void, ever vigilant, searching for any signs of rebellion or resistance. The Empire, with its unmatched fleet and advanced technology, believed that no force in the galaxy could challenge its rule. The most seasoned commanders, led by the cold and calculating commander Valeria Korvath, had faced down countless threats without flinching. Yet today, something unfamiliar flickered on their scanners. A single strange anomaly appeared on their radar, its energy signature unlike anything they had ever encountered. It was not a known enemy ship, nor was it a natural phenomenon. This was something completely out of place. Korvath sat in the command chair, her eyes narrowing as she stared at the readings. "What is it?" she muttered, more to herself than to anyone else. The fleet around her immediately began to fall into formation, preparing for whatever might come next. The anomaly was consistent, and they needed to investigate. There was no time for hesitation. The Empire couldn't afford to ignore a potential threat, no matter how minor it seemed. Orders were quickly issued, and the fleet began moving toward the source of the signal, their weapons ready, their shields up. The silence of space seemed to grow heavier with each passing second. As they approached, the object came into view. A ship, a massive warship, its silhouette cutting through the darkness of space like an immovable mountain. But this was no ordinary ship. The vessel was unlike anything Korvath had ever seen. A dark and sleek structure, its hull reinforced with layers of armor that glimmered under the faint light of distant stars. Its size alone was enough to make Korvath's heart skip a beat. How could a ship of such proportions exist in a galaxy where only the Empire's most powerful warships were known to dominate? But what truly stunned her was the strange inscription painted across the ship's outer hull. It wasn't in any language she had seen before, not in the tongue of any known species, yet it was simple and clear. The word etched into the vessel was humanity. A chill ran down Korvath's spine. Humanity? It couldn't be. There was no way that humans, primitive beings from a barely known planet, could have built such a powerful warship. The idea was preposterous. How could they, with their outdated technology and lack of spacefaring infrastructure, have managed to create a vessel like this? The Empire had spent centuries perfecting their war machines, and yet here was someone, seemingly, defying every rule of technological progression. Korvath quickly ordered her fleet to halt at a safe distance. Her mind raced with questions. Were the humans capable of something this extraordinary? Or had they somehow come into contact with another, far more advanced species? Whatever the answer, this was not something the Empire could afford to overlook. The ship remained still, ominously silent in the depths of space. The Empire's sensors began to work overtime, scanning for any signs of activity. But every scan returned with bizarre readings. The human ship seemed to be shielded against their sensors, giving off no discernible energy signature that could match any known technology. It didn't even register as an ordinary warship. It was as if the ship existed outside the rules of physics the Empire had known for centuries. Korvath's thoughts were interrupted by a sudden burst of static from the comms, followed by a transmission, an encrypted message. The message was short, but its meaning was unmistakable. "We are humanity. Stand down." Korvath sat frozen, the transmission echoing in her mind. Humanity? It was impossible. How had they come so far, so quickly? What were they hiding? And, more importantly, was this human ship the beginning of something larger? A threat that could bring down the mighty Empire? As the days of silence stretched on, she knew one thing for certain. This would be a battle unlike any they had ever faced. Korvath wasn't sure what to think anymore. The mysteries of this ship, the audacity of its creators, were overwhelming. But one thing was clear. The Empire had just encountered something they had never even imagined. A force that, despite being written off as insignificant by the galaxy at large, had just shown that they were more than capable of throwing the Empire's sense of control into chaos. And with every passing moment, the mystery deepened, leaving the Empire wondering, was this just the beginning? The Empire's fleet, still reeling from the shock of the mysterious human warship's appearance, quickly sprang into action. Commander Korvath, shaken but resolute, knew that they had to make their move. Her orders were clear: send a probe to gather data, assess the enemy, and learn whatever they could about this strange vessel. The Empire had dealt with countless species and threats in the past, but this was something different. As the probe was launched, the fleet watched intently, awaiting the data that would answer at least some of their questions. But as the probe neared the human warship, something unexpected occurred. Without warning, the probe's system scrambled, and a burst of intense energy shot through space, disabling it instantly. The probe's remaining data was corrupted, and all communication went dead. The Empire's fleet, now on high alert, immediately began to scan for any signs of the mysterious energy source. The readings they received were beyond anything they had ever encountered. Energy signatures fluctuated erratically, and the warship's defensive systems were unlike anything in the Empire's arsenal. Their sensors could barely comprehend what was happening, as if the human warship were laughing at the Empire's attempts to understand it. Commander Korvath's grip tightened around the armrests of her chair as she studied the readings. Her mind raced. How could this be possible? No species should be able to possess technology this advanced, especially not humans. The strange energy pulses seemed to mock everything the Empire had worked so hard to perfect, suggesting the humans had tapped into something far beyond mere science. Korvath's sense of control began to slip. She had to act, to show the galaxy that the Empire's might could not be challenged by any one ship, no matter how intimidating. Meanwhile, aboard the human warship, Captain Jonathan Cross stood tall at the command center, his expression calm but determined. He had been in countless battles, each more dangerous than the last. But this was something different. The galaxy was not a friendly place, and humans had fought for their survival every step of the way. They had built their ship with technology, so far ahead of their enemies that it had always been a secret weapon, a trump card no one had seen coming. Captain Cross knew what he had to do. This was their moment. His crew moved with practiced efficiency as they monitored the Empire's every move. The sensors beeped with warnings as the Empire's fleet slowly advanced. The time for diplomacy had passed. Captain Cross keyed the comms, sending a message back to the Empire that echoed through the void of space. "We are humanity," he said, his voice steady. "And we don't fear you." The response sent a ripple through the Empire's fleet. Commander Korvath stared at the transmission, her mind racing. How dare they? To think that such a species, so young and untested, would be so bold. It was infuriating. And yet, the truth remained. Humanity had not backed down, and it had just thrown down the gauntlet in front of the Empire. Korvath's eyes narrowed, and she issued a simple command. Engage. The order sent shockwaves through the fleet. The Empire's ships unleashed a torrent of firepower toward the human warship, massive energy blasts and missiles streaking through space. The humans were outnumbered, but they were not unprepared. Captain Cross barked commands, and the human warship moved with surprising agility, dodging and weaving through the incoming fire. It was as though the ship anticipated every move the Empire made, effortlessly evading the Empire's most advanced weaponry. And then, the humans struck back. A massive energy pulse erupted from the human warship, a beam so powerful that it tore through the shields of the closest Empire ship with ease, sending it spiraling out of control. Korvath's eyes widened as the Empire's ship disintegrated in a burst of light. Another ship was caught in the blast, and soon the Empire's fleet was reeling, forced to adjust its tactics. It was clear that the humans had more than just advanced technology. They fought with a skill and coordination that left the Empire's finest speechless. The Empire's fleet retaliated with everything they had, but each attack seemed to fall short. The human warship's shields absorbed their fire, and each counterattack made the Empire's forces seem clumsy and unprepared. Captain Cross, watching the Empire's ships buckle under the pressure, knew that this was only the beginning. The Empire may have the numbers, but humanity had something far more important: the will to fight, the ingenuity to survive, and a technology that no one, not even the Empire, had ever seen before. The battle had only just begun, and already, the Empire's once imposing dominance was beginning to crack. As the Empire's fleet reeled from their first encounters with the human warship, Commander Korvath felt an unease she hadn't experienced in years. The technology aboard the human ship was far more advanced than anything the Empire had ever seen, and their military capabilities seemed to defy logic. How could a species like humanity, known for its primitive beginnings and centuries of warfare, suddenly possess technology capable of challenging the might of the Empire? Korvath's mind refused to accept that the humans were merely lucky or somehow stumbled upon this power. There had to be more to their story, and she was determined to uncover it. In a desperate move to learn the truth, she launched a covert mission to one of humanity's more remote colonies, hoping to find the answers she desperately needed. Her fleet dropped into the outskirts of human space, far from the core systems, where humanity's most significant innovations were said to have taken place. The colony she targeted was small, inconspicuous, almost forgotten. It was a planet where humanity had once struggled to survive, but Korvath suspected that it held something crucial to their rise. She dispatched a small team of Imperial intelligence agents to infiltrate the colony and retrieve any data they could find. What they uncovered would change everything. Hidden deep within the colony's archives, the team found a series of encrypted data logs, their contents locked behind layers of security. After hours of decrypting, they finally uncovered a trove of information. What they discovered shocked Korvath to her core. The logs told the story of humanity's hidden technological evolution, a tale of a species underestimated and ignored by the rest of the galaxy. It described how humans, from the ashes of war and famine, had been quietly advancing their technology for centuries, developing sophisticated systems in secret, under the very noses of the Empire and other galactic powers. The logs detailed a long, intricate process of experimentation, with humans working to harness energy sources beyond anything the Empire had encountered, creating defensive technologies that could rival the most advanced warships. They had even unlocked the secrets of artificial intelligence and robotics far superior to anything Korvath had seen. But what truly intrigued her were the references to a concept she couldn't understand at first: the silent awakening. The phrase kept repeating across the logs, as if it were a key to understanding humanity's true potential. There were mentions of a series of events, hidden discoveries, and covert projects that had culminated in the development of their most powerful technologies. It seemed that the humans had been preparing for something vast and mysterious, waiting for the right moment to unleash it. The phrase, "the silent awakening," echoed like a warning, and Korvath couldn't shake the feeling that it was the key to understanding why humanity was suddenly capable of challenging the Empire. Back on the warship, Captain Jonathan Cross was fully aware that the Empire wouldn't stop hunting humanity. They would not rest until they had crushed every last hope of resistance. The battle had escalated from a simple skirmish into a full-scale war, and Cross knew that the coming confrontation would be the final test. But he was not afraid. Humanity had fought for its survival for centuries, and their greatest weapon was not their advanced ships or powerful technology. It was their indomitable spirit. Cross paced the bridge of his ship, a crew of engineers, soldiers, and explorers all working tirelessly to prepare for the inevitable. They knew that their situation was dire, that they were facing an empire capable of unimaginable destruction. But they also knew that no matter the odds, humanity would not surrender. The humans had learned to thrive in adversity, to adapt and innovate in the face of impossible odds. Their ingenuity, their creativity, their sheer will to survive, these were the things that made them dangerous, and the Empire had yet to fully comprehend that. Captain Cross stood at the helm, staring out into the darkness of space. He had led his crew through battles that should have been lost, but each time they had emerged victorious, thanks to their resilience and resourcefulness. But this battle, this final confrontation, would be unlike anything they had faced before. The stakes were higher, the risks greater. But Captain Cross was determined that humanity's survival would not be dictated by the Empire's cruelty. He would show them that humanity could not be beaten, that their spirit and their will to fight were the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. As Korvath continued to delve into the mysteries of the humans' rise, the stage was set for the ultimate showdown. The Empire had underestimated humanity's potential once, and now, with the silent awakening looming on the horizon, they would face the true power of a species that refused to be broken. The final confrontation was inevitable. And no one, not even the might of the Galactic Empire, could predict how it would end. The Empire, now fully aware of the extraordinary capabilities of humanity, could no longer afford to hesitate. Commander Korvath, having analyzed the data from the covert mission, understood the gravity of the situation. The human warship, with its advanced technology and ingenuity, represented a threat that could not be ignored. The Empire's leaders, confident in their dominance for so long, finally ordered an all-out assault. A massive fleet of advanced battleships, star destroyers and assault cruisers assembled, preparing to crush the human warship in a decisive blow. The fleet moved with purpose, expecting that the humans would surrender, or at least be easily overwhelmed. But as they closed in, they quickly realized just how wrong they were. The human warship, once thought to be an easy target, activated its defenses. Massive energy shields flickered to life, surrounding the vessel like an impenetrable force field. The first salvo of Empire firepower slammed into the shield with overwhelming force, but the energy field absorbed it all, not even denting the ship's defenses. The Empire's ships continued their barrage, pouring everything they had into the human vessel, but it was as though their attacks were being swallowed by an invisible wall. No matter how hard they struck, nothing seemed to penetrate. Captain Cross stood firm aboard the human ship, watching the Empire's futile attempts to break through their defenses. His face remained calm, but his mind raced with focus. Every move, every tactic, was part of a plan he had set in motion long before the battle began. The human warship was a marvel of technology, each system designed with one goal in mind: survival. As the Empire's forces continued to waste their firepower on the shield, Cross gave the signal to his crew. It was time to strike back. The human warship retaliated with shocking precision. In a flash, cloaking technology activated, and the ship vanished from the Empire's sensors, leaving the fleet blind. The Empire's ships, unsure of where the warship had gone, scrambled to readjust. Suddenly, an energy weapon, unlike anything the Empire had ever seen, fired from the human ship. The beam tore through the hull of the nearest destroyer, causing it to shudder before its shields collapsed and the ship disintegrated into a blaze of light. The Empire's fleet watched in stunned silence as the once imposing warship reappeared, from the shadows, poised to strike again. Captain Cross didn't stop there. The human ship's weaponry was far beyond anything the Empire had encountered. Each weapon fired was a testament to human ingenuity. Energy blasts that burned through shields in seconds, antimatter cannons that crippled whole sections of the Empire's fleet with a single shot. The Empire's ships fought back desperately, but each attack was met with devastating countermeasures. The human warship twisted and darted through the void of space, moving with an agility that seemed impossible for such a massive vessel. The tactics were unfamiliar to the Empire: feints, surprise strikes, and rapid repositioning that left the Empire's fleet constantly off balance. With every passing minute, the Empire's forces found themselves in retreat. The human warships' relentless attacks pushed the Empire's battle lines further back, and Korvath's once confident commanders began to panic. The tide of the battle was shifting, and the sheer brilliance of humanity's tactics left them scrambling for answers. Each move made by the human ship revealed a new layer of technological wonder, something the Empire couldn't have prepared for. Amidst the chaos, Commander Korvath realized that brute force would not win this battle. The Empire had long relied on overwhelming firepower and sheer numbers, but against the ingenuity and resourcefulness of humanity, these methods were proving ineffective. In the face of such relentless innovation, the Empire's superior fleet strength was no longer enough. Korvath felt the weight of the situation press down on her. She could no longer afford to underestimate the humans. It was in this moment of realization that Korvath made a choice. The Empire might not have the technological edge over humanity, but it still had the power to destroy them completely. With a heavy heart, Korvath broadcasted a final transmission across the comms. "This is Commander Korvath of the Galactic. Empire. Humanity, we offer you one final opportunity. Surrender now, and your civilization will be spared. Refuse, and we will bring the full might of the Empire to bear, destroying everything you have built." For a moment there was silence. The Empire's fleet waited, hoping that the humans would break, that they would see reason. But Captain Cross did not waver. His voice came over the comms with calm defiance. "We are humanity. We do not surrender, and we will never fall." The final battle had begun, and there would be no turning back. The Empire had underestimated humanity, and now they would pay the price for their arrogance. The fight for survival had entered its most dangerous phase, and no one, not even the mighty Empire, knew how it would end. Captain Jonathan Cross stood at the helm of the human warship, his resolve as unshakable as ever. The Empire's final offer had been made: surrender or face complete annihilation. But humanity did not know how to surrender, nor would they ever. Cross's voice rang out across the comms, a final declaration that would echo throughout the galaxy. "We've never been afraid of you, and we won't start now." The words were simple, yet they carried the weight of a species that had been underestimated for too long. They had fought for their survival since the beginning, and they would not back down now. In that moment, a tactical change occurred that would alter the course of the entire war. The human warship, though already a formidable force, contained a weapon unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. It was a weapon that humanity had kept hidden, a weapon powered by unknown alien technology and decades of human ingenuity. As the Empire's forces prepared to strike the final blow, Captain Cross initiated the secret weapon with a single command. The human ship's systems powered up, and a galaxy-wide signal was broadcast, a signal so potent that it disrupted the Empire's entire communication network. The effects were immediate and catastrophic. Fleet commanders were suddenly cut off from each other, unable to issue commands or coordinate their strategies. Navigational systems, which the Empire had relied on for centuries, were scrambled, leaving the fleets blind and disoriented. The Empire's ships, once precise and deadly, now drifted aimlessly in the void, unable to communicate or organize their defenses. The mighty Imperial forces were rendered powerless, each ship and fleet leader isolated from the others. It was chaos, on a scale no one had anticipated. The tables had turned. With the Empire's fleets now in disarray, the human warship took swift advantage. Captain Cross barked orders to his crew, and in a stunning maneuver, the ship activated its hyperspace drive. In an instant, the warship vanished from the battlefield, leaving the Empire's forces behind, crippled and vulnerable. The vast, powerful fleets that had once dominated the galaxy were now adrift, their communications severed and their strategic advantage destroyed. The human warship, with its advanced technologies and relentless drive to survive, had outwitted the Empire in ways they had never imagined. Back at the Empire's high command, Commander Korvath returned, the weight of the failure heavy on her shoulders. She had witnessed the unthinkable. The Empire's fleets, the epitome of military might, had been reduced to nothing more than a disjointed mess by a single human ship. The data was undeniable. Humanity had not only survived, but had decisively proven that they were a force to be reckoned with. The Empire, once secure in its belief of absolute dominance, now faced the reality of a new power in the galaxy, one that could not be easily crushed or underestimated. Korvath's mind raced as she processed the ramifications. How could they have missed this? How could the humans, a species thought to be primitive and unimportant, have risen to such a level of power so quickly? The answer was both simple and terrifying. Humanity had always been underestimated, and now they had proven just how dangerous that mistake could be. The Empire, reeling from its defeat, was left to confront a daunting question. What happens when humans decide they are no longer willing to be underestimated? The answer was unclear, but the Empire now understood that their path forward would be far more complicated than it ever had been before. Humanity had shown that it was capable of not only defending its place in the galaxy, but of shifting the balance of power itself. The once unshakable foundation of the Empire had been cracked, and the future of galactic politics would never be the same. Korvath, standing in the shadows of the Empire's high command, knew the truth. The Empire's dominance was no longer assured. Humanity had awakened, and it had made it clear that it was ready to fight for its place. The conflict was far from over, but one thing was certain. The Empire had just learned a valuable lesson. Underestimate humanity, and you risk everything. The reckoning had begun, and the Empire would have to face the consequences of its arrogance.